Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So, it's time for the next episode of the series of Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering this as an example of a comic book franchise's films. And this comic book franchise is based on comics by Dark Horse Comics and is not part of DC or Marvel. And this is probably my favourite character from Dark Horse Comics, created by Mike Mignola. And this is where, in my opinion, his films in the old are better than the new, both live action and animated, that is. And that character where I'd say the old ones are better than the new ones is, of course, none other than Hellboy. So, now when it comes, of course, to what Hellboy means to me then, so I, of course, first started watching Hellboy, I think it was in like late 2021, and I watched both of the films starring Ron Perlman as the character. And as you guys will know from my ranking video of the films, and also from my video on why Hellboy 2 deserves a sequel, I absolutely love both of the Hellboy films with Ron Perlman, directed by Guillermo del Toro. And I, of course, have them here as Blu-ray Steelbooks as well. I definitely really love these films. In my opinion, they're really underrated superhero films. And I heard apparently they got negative reviews, especially the first one. But for me personally, guys, I don't hate either of them. I love both of them. In my opinion, they're really underrated films. Because what I really appreciate about them is how well they capture a comic atmosphere, in my opinion. And Ron Perlman, in my opinion, was also a perfect casting as Hellboy himself as well. And that's easily my awesome favorite role of Ron Perlman. And because I want one of my favorite actors of all time as well. Because in my opinion, he totally embodies who Hellboy is as a character with his amazing performance. And I think the rest of the cast was also, in my opinion, well casted too in the two films. For example, I for example, love Selma Blair, of course, in the films, as, of course, Hellboy's girlfriend, of course. I think she was definitely, in my opinion, also a great casting as her in the films. Did a really brilliant job playing her. Did a really great job. Made her also a likeable character in both the films that she was in. My opinion, she was definitely brilliant as Liz, absolutely. And I also think in terms of villains, the villains of both films were also good too as well. I definitely really loved, Carl Roden as Rasputin in the first movie. He was definitely, in my opinion, a great villain. And even as well, the Golden Army in the sequel, as well, Hellboy to the Golden Army, were also, in my opinion, great as well. Definitely really loved them. And I also, as well, definitely as well think the film's visual effects are also fantastic as well, and the makeup in the film was also amazing too, and that's why I think it holds up really well, because of the great makeup and the special effects they used in the film. I think it was really good for its time, absolutely. And I also as well think in terms of supporting characters, it also has great ones too. I definitely, for example, love Professor Trevor Brutenholm, who's played by Sir John Hurt, may he rest in peace. In my opinion, he was a perfect casting as him because he looks just like his comic book version, in my opinion. You know, where it kind of looks a bit like Albert Einstein a little bit, you know, with the white hair and stuff like that. Kind of similar to that, really. I think John Hurt was definitely perfect casting because he looked the part. And I think as well, even though the film, of course, is a superhero film, of course, well, a dark superhero film, it also handles emotion really well, the first movie, because of Professor Brutenholm's death scene, because in my opinion, it was definitely a very sad scene, in my opinion. Really sad. And what I also definitely really appreciate a lot about the sequel as well is how, of course, it continued the story really well. And I think, you know, it did a really good job continuing on. And it had, of course, one of the first ones so great and kept going with it, really, which I really appreciated. And to this day, I'm still really disappointed we didn't get a third movie, which I'll be getting to, of course, and talking about, of course, the bad things of this franchise. And I think, as well, the old Hellboy films were also strong in terms of animation as well. Because I definitely really love, of course, animated film, of course, which is Hellboy, Blood and Iron, which is definitely, in my opinion, also an underrated superhero film. And this one's like animated part based on the visuals of it, and in my opinion, it's great. And you also have Ron Perlman doing the voice, and other characters also coming back from films too, which is definitely really awesome. So I definitely really like that about it. And that was definitely really cool. And there's also one called Sword of Storms, which is also a great film as well. And sadly, I didn't go out physically, of course. I got this, of course, on DVD because it comes with a comic. And hopefully one day I'll upgrade it to Blu-ray, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'd love to get Sword of Storms physically for one day to add to, of course, other films I have. And the animated films, in my opinion, were great too, because even though they weren't directed by Del Toro, who, in my opinion, is the only one I can accept for directing Hellboy films, I still think they were able to maintain what made the character so great, in my opinion, because they have the same level of you know, the darkness, the humour, and great acting as well, because I already mentioned Ron Perlman came back, and so did other cast members too. And I think those films, in my opinion, were great and they didn't deserve the hate because they made, of course, you know, great stuff, with, of course, with faithfulness to the comics and making Hellboy such a great character, in my opinion. That's why I think he's a great superhero character, absolutely. However, when it comes, of course, to why it's always better than new for a franchise, we sadly, of course, get on to what is, of course, the 2019 reboot of a franchise. A reboot that nobody asked for, because originally, guys, they were going to do, of course, a third film in the franchise, but due to creative differences between Martin Nolan and Del Toro left because he was not offered the director's chair, only producer. So he left, and because Ron Perlman, of course, trusted working with Del Toro because he's a frequent collaborator of his, he refused to return as Hellboy. And you know what? I can't say blame him because without Del Toro, this film, which I'm going to talk about, failed miserably. And of course, it's a 2019 film simply called Hellboy. But this film, as far as I'm concerned, can go to hell because, in my opinion, it's terrible. So, here is why, in my opinion, this film can go to hell. And why I say old Hellboy better, because this film, compared to the films of Ron Perlman, absolutely sucked. Because it completely messed up the faithfulness to the comics. And compared to Rasputin from the first film, the main villain, of course, of this reboot, in my opinion, was terrible. And I do like Milla Jovovich as an actress, but I personally did not like Nimue, who, of course, is a Blood Queen. In my opinion, she was a weak, pathetic, bland villain. Just so terrible, in my opinion. A villain I didn't care about at all. And, I mean, David Harbour was good as Hellboy, in my opinion, in the film, but he really was, in my opinion, screwed over in this film, and I really wish Ron Perlman came back with Del Toro, because they'd have probably saved the film, but sadly not. And also, as well, when it comes to Troy Brutenholm in this film as well, he's played by Ian McShane. But what's dumb is, they didn't even make him look like he does in the comics. He just looks like regular Ian McShane does. Doesn't even look like Brutenholm at all, which just really sucks. I mean, Ian McShane's a great actor. They probably give him better direction to live, and of course, give him, of course, better makeup to look like how character does in the comics, but sadly not. Not to mention, they also included Brutenholm's death scene in the film as well, but in my opinion, it was pathetically done compared to the death scene of John Hurt's version from the original movie. And not to mention all those characters in the film I couldn't care less about either. The story I couldn't care less about either. I guess one redeeming quality to have it is that the film does have, of course, blood and gore, which is what you need for Hellboy, but sadly not much, which really sucks. There is bits of it though, at least, but still not much. And also as well, what's worse is the film also has a dumb setup as well for more to come, because when it comes to one of Hellboy's sidekicks being Abe Sapien, who's in the two films of Ron Perlman, even animated films, he doesn't even appear in this film until towards the end of the film, when, of course, we find him in a water tank. So, the fact they didn't include him was a dumb move. And also, as well, no Liz in the film either, which is also a bad move. Like, you can't have a Hellboy film without Liz Sherman at all. So, that was just so dumb, in my opinion. Like, what a big mistake that was. And so all I can say is screw this film all the way. In my opinion, it's a really bad reboot. Definitely an example of how you should not do a reboot at all. I mean, the film shouldn't even have been made in the first place. They should have just done Hellboy 3 instead of Ron Perlman returning as Hellboy and Del Toro directing. But no, crazy differences just had to ruin it, didn't they? Which really sucks. And sadly, I still think Hellboy as a film franchise is still dead, because despite this film's failure, I was hoping it'd be a wake-up call for them to actually bring back Del Toro and Ron Perlman, but they never did. Because they instead did another reboot, and that's, of course, called Hellboy the Crooked Man. Now, when it comes to this film, of course, I was out immediately when I heard that Del Toro and Ron Perlman were not involved in it, because I know it's going to be bad. I mean, look at 2019 film, that was bad, and they weren't involved in it. And this one probably would be bad as well. So, there's no one going to be watching it, and of course, the film actually got released, of course, in June this year, of course, in Belgium, I believe, when it got premiered. And it's going to be released direct-to-video on demand, so why does that surprise me? Because I saw the film's trailer, and it looked like a very bad fan film, but I've seen better fan films than that. So it doesn't surprise me it got bad reviews. It's got bad reviews from critics, which I'm also not surprised at either. So I was hoping that reboot 2019 would have been a wake-up call for them to actually do Hellboy 3, but no, we did this. So yeah, it's their fault for doing this in the first place. So, I'm not going to watch this film, guys. I'll stick to Ron Perlman's films because, in my opinion, Hellboy as a film franchise is not Hellboy without involving Ron Perlman as Hellboy and Del Toro directing. Ron Perlman has said he'd like to do Hellboy 3, of course, but sadly, of course, his age is affecting him because he's, of course, in his 70s now, so he's sadly not getting any younger. but he will do it for fans. So I really hope they greenlight Hellboy 3 as soon as possible. Oh, I really hope they do. But I wouldn't mind if they do it animated, in case Ron Perlman can't play him in live action anymore. As long as Del Toro directs it, of course, and they maintain the spirit of the franchise like the animated films I just talked about did. I really hope so. I'll also stick to Hellboy as well in video gaming territory, because I believe there's some old games which Ron Perlman did the voice for, which I'll probably play one day, see what I think of those. Hellboy was also great in Injustice 2 as a DLC character as well in that. Even in that game, he's better than the reboot, which is definitely very sad as well. Sadly, it wasn't voiced by Ron Perlman, but I think the actor who played him in that game did a great job as Hellboy. Definitely much better than 2019 version of Hellboy, that's for sure. And I also as well recently got a game called Hellboy Web of Weird as well, which of course stars Lance Reddick, may rest in peace, as Hellboy. And it's also a cartoon hack and slash beat 'em up game, which I'm definitely going to play, see what I think of that. Because I've seen clips, it looks like a really great game, so I hope I like it too. I don't want to play it as part of my respect to Lance Reddick as well, because he's a great actor who we lost way too soon. But as far as I'm concerned, guys, Hellboy, when it comes to its films, was better than old than the new for me. Like, I really hope we do Hellboy 3, but for now, guys, I do not care at all about any more Hellboy films, unless they involve Ron Perlman playing Hellboy and Del Toro directing them. My opinion, it's not going to work without those two, and this new film getting bad reviews is probably proof of that. So guys, this is me coming next with old better than new. I was saying why, in my opinion, Hellboy's films are definitely an example where, in my opinion, the old is better than new. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let in the comments what you guys think of Hellboy's films being old better than new. Formula, if you comments below what you think. Also, be sure to join the team, press and subscribe in the future, and I'll see you all later.